What's good, fam? It's Mr. Kelly with Good to the Hood, talking about anything and everything that impacts the culture. And today, I'm going to start doing something a little new, and I feel like we need to go ahead and give people their flowers, specifically those that have had a great impact on the community. Give these people their flowers while they're still here. So I'm going to do that. Too often do we want to give accolades and acknowledgement to those that have inspired us or influenced us or had big impacts in the community after they've passed, right? So Nipsey Hussle was a big one. Recent Kobe Bryant, and of course there's been countless other, obviously, in the political realm, of course, as well. Brother John Lewis. And so we've lost a lot of these people. And so today I want to go ahead and periodically I'm going to start giving flowers to some of those brothers and sisters that have inspired me or were influential. And the first one on that list, as I do, and I'm just going to do one each time. First one on this particular one is Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, I think people sleep on. Growing up, Eddie Murphy was real big when I was young, but I didn't realize how big of a deal he was. Right? He had his stand-up comedy. What was that one? Delirious was one. That's when he was wearing the red leather, and that was hilarious to me. Now I was young, not quite a teenager yet. I was maybe, I don't know, maybe 12ish or so. And then he came out with Raw, and Raw was ridiculous. That like tore it down. And of course, from that point forward, I was a fan of Eddie's. But even then, Eddie can sing. You know, recently, me and one of my friends were talking, and they were saying that he had sang in that play or that show or whatever that movie. I mean, I didn't see it, but it's called. He can sing, and of course, then I went into my bag and was like, yes, Eddie can sing. Now I don't know that he's that great of a singer, but he's pretty good. So those of you that are as old as me in the '80s, he wanted to venture out. Eddie Murphy wanted to venture out and do a music career, right? And he had a song called "Party All the Time," which was like, it's alright, but definitely wasn't no big Billboard hit. But he did have a song that I rocked with all the time. I had the cassette single. I think I still got it around here somewhere. And it was what was it called? It was a song that Eddie Murphy did. Oh, "With All I Know." If you haven't heard that song, in fact, I'll probably put the link in the description to that song, "All I Know," by Eddie Murphy. It's a dope song, right? Like it was a good song. But that's not why we should give Eddie his flowers. Eddie, so a little bit of background on Eddie Murphy. His brother, his older brother, who passed away as well, right? Charlie Murphy, rest in peace, Charlie Murphy as well. He was on the Chappelle Show, and he was funny, and he would have all these stories on the Dave Chappelle Show, right? Because Charlie Murphy was just, by Eddie's admission, was crazy. So Charlie Murphy is his older brother. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Eddie is his life. So Eddie Murphy, at the date of this video, I believe is like 59 years old, right? Eddie Murphy's 59. And his life has been a crazy story. His father was a police officer, and his mother was, I believe she was just like a secretary. His parents divorced when he was young. Now, what's crazy is Eddie Murphy, his father ended up getting a girlfriend after the divorce, right? And then his father was murdered by the girlfriend, right? That's insane. And he was young. He was like 8, 9, 10 years old when this occurred. And he has said in other interviews that was super traumatic. And he had a whole lot of other traumatic stuff that happened to him when he was growing up that's probably repressed, right? Recently, Eddie Murphy got an Emmy, right? So salute and congrats to the brother for achieving that. He recently got an Emmy. And what else? His career started with Al Green. A lot of people don't know that. Like I said, his childhood was very traumatic. He changed comedy. Like I mentioned, his stand-up Delirious and Raw, and I just kind of brought it up that's how I really remembered and started to know him. But he changed comedy. Now, he was influenced by Richard Pryor, but he changed the way that comedy would go from that point forward, because Eddie was one of the first ones to do stand-up on a level as big as it was. Like those two stand-ups, Delirious and Raw, were on movie screens. Like prior to him, that wasn't as big a deal. He was selling merch. He made it to where comedians were really rock stars. Now, Richard Pryor, of course, and that kind of thing, he was big, but he was big in the comedic world, and only those that really kind of followed that, and of course those in the black community back then. But Eddie really like made it to where it was a big event. You know, if it wasn't for Eddie Murphy, I venture to say there wouldn't be individuals like Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart where they're selling out stadiums and arenas and all this kind of thing. So when he came out specifically with Raw, I vividly remember that when he came out with Raw, he changed the comedic world and changed the game forever. I mean, the theatrical release and what he got for that was just ridiculous. And it was like Raw was released like in '87, so yeah, '87. So I was like a freshman in high school then. But anyway, so that was that. Obviously, he's influenced other comedians himself, like Chris Rock, who's legendary. And actually, Eddie Murphy is ranked in the top 10 of stand-up comics worldwide. On Rolling Stone, they said at that time when Rolling Stone came out with an article saying that he was top 50 in the world period. But now like Eddie's like top 10. And so I mean, think about how old the brother is. Take a picture of Eddie. Take a look at that. I'm gonna put one up. Brother's almost 60. Like they say, black don't crack, and Eddie is showing that. Now it doesn't hurt that Eddie got a little bit of bread, right? A little bit of money. Um, uh, Let me see what else. What else about old Eddie Murphy? He had a lot of movies. 48 Hours, Part One and Two. Beverly Hills Cop. There was three of those. He was ridiculous in all of those movies. Um, he says himself that he doesn't read reviews, and so a lot of times when he gets these accolades and hears things, he doesn't know about it till much later. Or somebody in his camp tells him. Um, Little fun fact: he was almost on Star Trek. Eddie Murphy, almost on Star Trek. He's most known, not most known, but he's also big known for Coming to America, which was a big movie. He's also produced, helped write, and starred in a movie called Boomerang, which back then, if you go back and look at that movie, he was one of the first ones to really put on the big screen a primarily all black cast, and he depicted everyone in the movie, all black people in that movie, as being professionals. So it wasn't the same humdrum BS of being servants or being criminals or being like the casualty that dies off first in a horror movie is always the black person, right? And Boomerang is not a new movie. Boomerang is way back in the day, 80s or 90s. I believe it was 90s. And Eddie had the vision enough to say like, hey, we're more than just what the media depicts us as. So kudos to Eddie for that. His directorial movie debut was a success. Harlem Nights, classic movie, grossed over 60 million. A lot of people don't know about Harlem Nights. If you don't know about Harlem Nights and you're even remotely involved with or a part of the culture, you owe it to yourself to go see that movie Harlem Nights. It had all the legends in it. It had him in there. It had Bernie Mac in it. It had Red Fox in it. It had Arsenio Hall in it. It had Delta. Oh, what was her name? I'm not even going to try right now. But it had a lot of big names in it. And so kudos to Eddie for that movie. That movie is hilarious. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Like I said, he's a talented singer. I brought that up. He was friends with Michael Jackson. Like, he was legitimately friends with Mike. I'm debating if I'm going to do a thing on Michael Jackson. Rest in peace to Mike as well. But Eddie was actually friends with him, and they were both at the peak when they were friends. He's only been legally married once, Eddie Murphy. He's been married once legally. He has 10 children. I don't know how many grandchildren. If I find that, I'll put that up. But he has 10 children. He did date one of the Spice Girls, if you remember. I forget which one. Melanie Brown, I think, was her name, but I don't know which Spice she was. Whatever. She was the Black Spice Girl. God, I don't. Mel B, was that? Anyway, he married one of the Spice Girls. I think they had a couple kids. He took DNA tests to determine paternity in that. He exchanged vows with Tracy Edmonds. Like I said, he has 10 kids. He has a huge family, actually. And I don't know that any of his kids have made it in the Hollywood world. I don't know if they sing, rap, act, any athletes or anything like that. He's definitely involved with all his children. There's a lot of pictures of him out there if you look it up, and I'll put a couple up as well. A lot of pictures of Eddie up there with all his family. he was doing voiceovers for a while, right? So he did like the voice of Donkey in that movie Shrek. Then he had Dr. Doolittle, and he started changing. Those of you that know, Eddie Murphy in the early days was pretty raunchy, like with his comedy and with all of that. And then he said when he had kids, he wanted his kids to have a favorable outlook on him. So that's when he started kind of doing some of the Dr. Doolittle stuff and Shrek. Nutty Professor, which in Nutty Professor, he helped mentor and help in part discover Dave Chappelle, who in my opinion is the greatest comedian of all time. But that's just my 2 cents. Eddie Murphy won countless awards. One of them was he won Favorite Voice Award, which is an award that I know he won, but I didn't even know that was something that they did. I guess it would make sense for voiceover type stuff. He's gotten a Golden Globe. I think at one point in time, he was really going through some stuff. There's like a movie called Showtime, Razzie, Norbit, I Spy, and he was actually voted worst actor of the decade. But he bounces back from that all the time. Anytime anything's thrown to Eddie like that, he bounces back. He's very philosophical about his career lows. That's one thing about Eddie. He's had career ups. He's been king of the hill, and then he's had career lows. And Eddie has always said that he learns from every experience, good, bad, and indifferent. He's never allowed it to stop him, and he has remained an icon and a juggernaut in the industry. I do know he does not drink alcohol. He's alcohol free. He talks about it in some of his skits about drunks and that kind of thing, but he doesn't drink. He has won the Hollywood Career Achievement Award, so that kind of lets you know too that he's been in the game for a long time, and I think he won that award in 2016. He's obviously a box office big shot. I mean, he's had movies that have just bodied it. The crazy thing about Eddie that kind of brought this to mind too is, with Eddie, he's kind of a homebody. Like, this is why you never really hear about him out there. I mean, even when he was at the top of his game, you didn't really hear about Eddie out there partying a whole lot. I mean, maybe a little bit, but for as big as he was and who he was, like I said, during the Beverly Hills Cop era, during the stand-up comedies, 48 Hours, all those types of movies, Harlem Nights, he wasn't really out there. Like, if you compare him to a lot of comedians now, like your Dion Cole, Kevin Hart, these guys, like, they're out there in the lanes. Like, you see them, they're doing their thing, right? Mike Epps is another one. They're kind of partying. Eddie's never been a party. He really is like a homebody. So, for all of those that know Eddie, really see his movies again. Listen to his music. I'm telling you, I'm gonna put that link in there. You got to hear that track. It's dope. So salute to Eddie. We're giving you your flowers now. You're iconic. You've done tremendous things for the culture. I believe you are still involved in the industry. I look forward to seeing what comes out in the future. So salute to Eddie Murphy, and give Eddie his flowers now. But for now, this is Mr. Kelly with Good to the Hood. And until next time, folks, peace.